Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terri-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean.
Hi everyone, good evening and welcome to Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive. I hope you all are in good health and enjoying these days. It's very hot in Trinidad right now, extremely hot. So welcome again. I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, one of the co-creators of Connections 50 Plus. And as usual with me is...
Hi, I am Terri-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, the other co-creator. Welcome. Really nice to be here with you all.
Yeah. And Terri-Ann, you know, we are still very, I would say, excited, very happy about, you know, the response to our forum, our legacy creation forum that we had on Friday last. It was fantastic. We want to thank all those who registered and attended, of course, and the presenters that we had, which was Maureen, Daniel, Brave Boy, and her partner, yes, Cheryl. It was really great. Of course, we would let you listen to the feedback. But Terri-Ann, how you feel about that?
I just think it was a great opportunity. Jennifer, you know, when we compare our two forums, we seem to be touching on things that our cohort are so reluctant to deal with.
Yes.
They were uncomfortable with sex and sexual health, but then when they got into it, it was like, oh my God, this is so necessary. Do it again, do it again. And then when we talk about legacy creation and the ability to talk with an attorney about things that allow you to organize yourself so that you can live in a relaxed way. People are reluctant. They think that, oh gosh, I have my business settled. I don't know what I have to do and all that. But again, like with Onika, when Maureen and Cheryl started on the issues that affect how we live as we prepare to make sure that all is well with all our affairs.
Yeah.
I mean, things that even I took for granted or thought, as one of the people said, common sense might tell you this is what it is, but hello, the laws on the books of Trinidad, Tobago, and
different.
A lot of the Caribbean islands will say, and not all of them follow common logic. And sometimes we think that if we are wronged or we in the right, the law must follow, but a lot of our emotional logic is not supported in law. And the forum gave a wonderful opportunity for people to talk about children and talk about consequences of marriage or not marriage, and
a lot came out. And what's good, I mean, with our forum, as you all know, is small group forums.
Yes.
So with the small group, we try not to go beyond 15. So we had about 10 there.
Yes. There were about 13 of us in all. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So with that size, you could really open up and the facilitators could address each concern. We had asked participants to send in questions beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So they were well prepared, you know, in answering the questions, and then we were able to expand. It was really a very informative, and I always use the word life-changing.
Yes. You know what was one of the interesting things? In terms of the male-female dynamic, in terms of the law and protection for self. I mean, both parties seem to be equally protected in the
Yes,
realm
yes.
of the law for assets, and whether you are married, you are single, you are common law, you are widowed, you're divorced. I mean, listen, people, we need to not assume that what we thought when we were 50 or 40 will apply when we are 60 and 70 and even 80. Life is different and competencies are different. And if you don't understand the implications of trusting X when the law says Y is really the person in charge.
Yep.
But it was useful. And as usual, people have said, you must have another one. We come in because they ran out. They had more questions. So stay tuned and you'll see. But Jennifer, we can let them get some feedback.
Definitely. So listen to the feedback.
Yes, very, very pertinent stuff. Very pertinent. I'm so happy I was part of it. As Keith said, reminds you of some things and makes you aware of other things. Very important, because sometimes, you think and your common sense tells you, this should be this way. But the law has a totally different look on things, and you could lose out in the end.
I found this session very informative. I like how the responses that she gave, easy to understand in that sense. I got a lot of answers that I was looking for.
I thought the session was, and the information was pertinent to me at this point in my life. I got some additional information that I have to work on. I have some things to work on, and some other information that I have to think through before I make, certain decisions. Some decisions that I had planned, but I have to rethink it, and before I make decisions. So it was a very good session.
But there's some things I learned with the changing of the laws and the new, what you call, updates of the law. But the information is always relevant, and sometimes we forget some of these things or make mistakes to go through life. So I found it to me it was an excellent reminder of things that I have to constantly bear in mind, and particularly at this age now, it is very, very important. It's even more important than when you hit in your 50s and 60s and 70s, that you keep these things, at your fingertips.
I have some things in place. I thought I had plenty things in place, but it seems as though I have to go back now and itemize, prioritize, and make sure that things are in place, in a different way, because things once were, but they are now so different.
And I think this session was excellent. I think the questions that came in, and even those that came in, during the discussion, threw up a lot of information. This session was really, really, really good. And I'm positive there's a follow-up onto this. I just know it. I'm positive. But in the meantime, I think the takeaway is to get your business in order.
A lot of questions, a lot of answers, a lot of things for thought.
I think it was time well spent, money well spent.
I wouldn't miss the other one as well. I'm waiting for the other one.
Good, Jennifer. So
Terri-Ann, on Friday, so the 1st, we are celebrating, and I'm saying we, the United Nations, celebrating International Day of Older Persons. And that falls, as they say, right into our laps. Because we are about older persons, the 50 to the 80 generation and beyond.
Jennifer, so I want to show off a little bit. I want to show off on my status and becoming an older person. We have 50 to 80 and this magic number 60. I am filling out my NIS forms. I am getting ready to apply for my pension. And I am so excited.
Congrats. I'm way past that, but congrats.
So if anybody out there has
the excitement.
It's plenty paperwork,
Terri-Ann, you're sounding like you just realized that you are considered an older person.
Listen, you know, I fighting up with the 60 long time, all right? I cannot wait. And the fact that I'm within 2 months now, so I can submit my NIS forms for my pension, I will be legitimately a 5.8G cohort, smack in the middle.
Great. So you put in a plus sign by your finances?
Yes. Oh no. But well, Jennifer, when we
Plus
did
and minus.
when we did the reset, and people will remember our reset program, which prepares us for our senior years. When you did that financial analysis, when we did the financial assessment, I started fixing and twisting from then. So this process with NIS is a cherry on the cake.
So you're ready.
I am getting ready. I am getting ready.
Okay,
And
great,
Maureen raised
great.
things, and I am getting
Yes.
ready. But I am approaching my third act with a lot of comfort in that I am aware and I'm not letting second act realities come in to cloud my judgment. I'm very, very grateful for that.
Great. You're walking the talk. You're not just here on the show talking. You actually walking the talk. All right. So yes, so the International Day for Older Persons, we thought on Connections 50 Plus, we will take this very seriously. We have always been taking it seriously. But you know, when we look at what more can we do? And as you know, we have been having different series. You know, we started the series. So for the month of September,
October.
we focus on,
Yes.
for the month of September, we focus on the legacy, creating a legacy. And we had all different aspects, you know, talking about legacy. We had guests coming, etc. And we ended that month with this legacy creation forum. So moving in now to October, and in celebration of the United Nations International, well, it really is International Day for Older Persons, but we want to extend it to the entire month. So we're going to, each week for this month, we would have a special topic on. But before we get into the topic, what we have done actually, should I let them know the topics and then we talk about what we're coming up with? So we thought that the topics will cover the three areas, the three main aspects, years in our third act stage. And when I said, you know, we always talk about the 50 to 60, Terri-Ann excited, the 60 to the 70 and the 71 to the 80 and beyond. So we focus a lot on these three stages of life, because as you would know, each stage really different, you know. It requires, I mean, our whole being is different, you know. Sometimes we're in a different in your mindset, your health, etc. So knowing this, we have decided we look at 4 different categories. And in these categories is in sync with what we are doing right now, actually.
Yeah,
all right. So we're going to be chatting about, you know, community, how we engage with your community, how we engage with family and friends, etc. To be current. We're also going to talk about health and medical. And when I say we are actually going to have subject experts. We'll have guest professionals in the various areas. So they would really be able to go in depth in what, you know, on the different topics. So for community, we're going to have someone, health and medical. We should have a medical doctor, gerontologist on board with us. We're looking at long-term palliative care. And we're going to again have the experts come in and chat about that. And, you know, we must do the financial aspect of it, because that is critical. And we learn so much from our legacy creation, how important it is to have your financial aspects in place. So with these 4 key areas we're going to be covering, we thought is ideal for this month of celebration, where we have this special celebration for the older persons like ourselves.
Us.
Okay, so Terri-Ann read, and I'll let Terri-Ann share this part, and as we go along, we're going to do it. I found it was so interested when Terri-Ann shared it for me, and we thought, listen, this is so apt for what we're going to do today.
Yeah.
So let me allow Terri-Ann to, share with you what we're going to do now for this show.
All right. The thing is, many of you may have gotten this little WhatsApp video or note being circulated. Zhou Daxin, he is a Mayor Dunn literary prize winner, and that's an Asian Chinese equivalent to Pulitzer Prize and so on. He wrote a novel, The Sky Gets Dark Slowly, which he would call is a sensitive exploration of old age and the complex hidden emotional worlds of the elderly. And specifically, he looked at 4 main themes. But one of the things we want people to do is take a little pause. Don't get tied up in the phrase old age. We are all heading there, but we're going there through a process. Once we say we're the 5.8 G, there's 50 to 60, 60 to 70, and 70 to 80. And these 4 areas that he talked about are equally applicable to each of these 3 stages. It is just that how we deal with it at the different stages may adjust, but how we deal in the 50s to the 60s impacts what happens in the 60s to 70s. And that impacts what happens to the 70s to 80s. So we want to use The Sky Gets Darker Slowly as a sort of a template to help all of us. Because if we don't take cognizance when we're in the 50 to 60 era, we will pay dearly in the 70 to 80. And if we don't do it in the 60 to 70, we will be rushed and anxious, having wasted time when we get to the 70 to 80. So in this show, as Jen and I go through all the different segments of Zhou Daxin's The Sky Gets Dark Slowly, and we prepare you for the month's activities, we will share. So we want whichever stage you're on, 50 to 60, 60 to 70, 70 to 80, let's focus. So,
okay. So what I'll do, I'll just read the introduction from that novel, go into the first part. So in it, he writes, it is a sensitive exploration of old age and the complex hidden emotional worlds of the elderly in a rapidly aging population. Many elderly speak as though they know everything, but of old age, they are in fact as ignorant as children. Many elderly are in fact completely unprepared for what they are to face when it comes to getting old and the road that lay ahead of them. In the time between a person turning 60 years old, as they begin to age, right until all the lights go out and the sky gets dark, there are some situations to keep in mind so that you will be prepared for what is to come and you will not panic. So he went on and he listed different situations.
But Jennifer, before we go on to that, isn't that a pregnant comment that we are so accustomed being in charge and we know, but we are utterly inexperienced?
That's very true. I can tell you that. And I recall in my time when my parents will say certain things and I will dismiss it, you know. Some I didn't pay too much attention to, but do you know, now I'm at that stage. I recall, and the advice is what guided me along, right now. And that part where they say, in the time between a person turning 60 years old, Terry, and I taught him, it is a fact. It is a fact.
Yeah.
So what he listed as one, the people by your side will only continue to grow smaller in number. People in your parents' and grandparents' generation have largely all left, whilst many of your peers will increasingly find it harder to look after themselves, and the younger generations will all be busy with their own lives. Even your wife or husband may depart earlier than you, or that you would expect, and what might then come are days of emptiness. You will have to learn how to live alone and to enjoy and embrace solitude. Terri-Ann, that is so true.
That is why we do Connections 50 Plus.
I was mentioning this morning, I was walking with a girlfriend and we were talking about friends, and she's talking about the support she received. And I was saying, Terri-Ann, in the last 4 years, I have lost, let me see, if I go 5 years, I have lost 4, I'm gonna tell you, very, your bodies, your real bodies. And what is a bit scary in this case, they were all under 70. 60s, one had just turned 70. And reading this is not just your spouse, one who has a spouse, but your community.
It's your community, yep.
And that thing about the way he spoke about the younger generation will all be busy with their own lives.
Just as you were when we were when our parents were starting to age and grown, and
at that time you're not thinking because you're really busy. You have to put things together.
Raising children.
So now when seeing it, and I think it even, I remember my daughter telling me it is harder for them now. It's a more hustle for them than before. So we can't expect them to just jump when we call, This is a reality. This is a reality. So let me go on to Terri-Ann. Society will care less and less for you, no matter how glorious your previous career was or how famous you were. Aging will always transform you into a regular old man or old lady. The spotlight no longer shines on you, and you have to learn to contend with standing quietly in one corner to appreciate the hubbub and views that come after you, and you must overcome the urge to be envious or grumble. Now,
second act,
viewers, followers,
you do belong on the second act.
If this doesn't resonate with you, well, this is really, the spotlight no longer shines on you.
And the thing, Jennifer, is that depending on where we are, on which stage we are deaf to this in that first part of the stage. You see the 50 to 60, where you still more or less at the peak of your career. Yes, this is going to be like, what are you talking about? I'm not interested in that. I am fine. I'm still on everybody's list and so on. But as you get into the 60s and 70s, and we always say we divide that into 2 sections. 60 to 65 is choke, and 65 to 70 is cheese. So while the whole decade of the 50s, you're still balancing, as they say, the 60s, you've got to get on to building that other community. Because when you hit the 70s and the dead start, the parents are gone, the children and the grandchildren onto their own devices. Where are you?
See, don't be envious or grumble. We tend, when the going gets rough, they blame others and you're grumbling because somebody don't have time for you. And when you had before, when you were younger, you used to do this for them, and you know what we call reproach. You know, we have to be careful with that because it messes up our mindset. And we, you know, you want to move forward, be positive. So this information, I mean, Terri-Ann, he's spot on. You know,
He is.
I mean, this came from, I'm sure, a lot of research and experience, etc.
Yeah.
Because and it relates, I mean, to everybody.
But Jennifer,
you know,
if we cast our minds back to when our parents and the elders who were influential in our life circle, whether it was a grandma, an aunt, a nenen, a cousin or whatever, but the elder persons, when we would have been in our 20s or 30s or even our teens, and they were getting into the 60s and the 70s and starting to complain, and how we grumbled when we had to go and look for your grandmother. You have to go, and it was like, I mean, yes, we loved our grannies and stuff like that, but time with them was a time away from something else that we preferred. So now that we are getting there and we are grumbling about the others not taking time for us and our friends moving away, I think of my parents who are in their late 80s, and most of the friends, 95% of the friends, Jennifer, are dead. Yep, they're dead. They have each other. The friends who are alive are perhaps in different countries, but in their geographical space, those old friends, they're gone. And grumble, oh Lord.
You know, you get annoyed that you can't do the things you used to do before, or you might be dependent. But you know what? This is the reality. And we have to learn to live with the reality. And when we accept the information that's being shared here, it makes a difference to how we move.
Oh, yeah. It means that we can go ahead and build our own community and stage as we're trying to do with CONEC-TIONS 50+, so that we don't have that stress. And our days will not, the sky will not get dark slowly, but even if it gets dark, there'll be some light.
Yep. Yeah. So Terri-Ann, you want to continue here? We have, I did 1 and 2. There are 5 and all. Let's look at 3.
Okay. So in 3, the road ahead will be rocky and full of precarity, fractures, cardiovascular blockages, brain atrophy, cancer. All these are possible guests that could pay you a visit at any time, and you would not be able to turn them away. You will have to live with illness and ailments, to view them as friends even. Do not fantasize about stable, quiet days without any trouble in your body. Maintaining a positive mentality and getting appropriate, adequate exercise is your duty. And you have to encourage yourself to keep at it constantly. Who is responsible for you?
Terri-Ann, as you read, it reminded me, especially now, where we are battling with this COVID. And every day you're hearing about the elderly at risk, you know, and what we're supposed to do. And they know they're begging the elderly, you go out there and be vaccinated. You know, especially now it's very hot. So you make sure you drink a lot of liquid, drink a lot of water. Because yes, we are the ones at this stage, when it comes to health issues, we are at risk. You know, and being aware of that, we need to do things about it. And that's why we include medical and health issues as one of the key topics that when we're moving forward with for the month of October, because this is to help educate those who may not be listening
exactly.
to. Yes. Remind you all that, listen, We have to do something. And we may not be able to get away from being diagnosed with maybe the heart issue or the diabetes, etc. But guess what? It can be managed. They can all be managed. So it's not that you give up. No.
Jennifer, as they said, maintaining a
managed.
positive mentality and
Yeah.
getting appropriate, adequate exercise is your duty.
It's your
So
duty.
there's a double-edged sword there, because the first two you talked about, you've lost your community. So for many
Yes.
of us, we're in grief because we're
Yeah.
alone and nobody's taking care of us. And people would tend to want to sit in a corner and, oh my God, especially as we move through the stages. Especially as we go through 50s, 60s, it mightn't be so bad, 60s, 70s, but as you get later on, but it is your responsibility. So while you're moping about the reduction of your circle, you are responsible for keeping this body going and staying motivated to exercise and to make sure you eat well. And
I could talk about it going into 70. It's a reality. And, you know, I get up in the morning, it is nothing about I'm not feeling to go and walk or not feeling to exercise. If it's raining sometimes, it's very difficult for me to say, boy, there's a particular, I follow this particular guy who he deals with the elderly, exercise for the elderly, you know, and you have choices. And anytime I think, I say, listen, you have no choice. You know, I will get up and I will exercise. When I look at the things that I eat, you know, Terri-Ann, I'm very, you know, you may think fussy, but I won't put it fussy. You have to be very careful and very conscious. So if what you should put in your bodies now, because I cannot use and all that salt and a lot of things that I enjoy, I have learned now to eat my food without the Trini set of salt and pepper and all these things. So,
well, that will be the death of me because I love food festivals.
You know, if you haven't been
better.
if you haven't been diagnosed, you're good. But from the time in my case, when you say, you know, you're hypertensive and you should stay off salt and do X, Y, and Z, hey, I'm doing it. But whole taste buds has changed. So yeah, definitely, you know, look at your health. And as I said, for me, exercise is my duty. Yep.
So I'll just do 4 and then you'll do 5.
No.
And 4 is so very important. Prepare for a bed-bound life, a return to the infant state. Our mothers brought us into this world on a bed. And after a journey of twists and turns and a life of struggle, we are returning to our starting point, the bed, and to the state of having to be looked after by others. The only difference being where we once had our mothers to care for us, when we prepare to leave, we may not have our kin to look after us. Even if we have kin, their care may never be close to that of your mothers. You will more likely than not be cared for by nursing staff who bear zero relation to you, wearing smiles on their face whilst carrying weariness and boredom in their hearts. Lay still and don't be difficult. Remember to be grateful. I mean, Jennifer, it is a fact. Once we get up every morning, it means we are marching on in time.
Let me share this experience, Sarah. You know, and for listeners who are our followers who normally would follow our show, I have mentioned before that my mom is 99 actually. In January, soon she's going to be 100. So on weekends when the caregiver not there, I will take the role in helping her to bathe. Now, she has all her faculties, but she's her legs slow, etc. And this Sunday in bathing her, and you know what she says? She's very low and to gratitude. Oh, she's so grateful. And she said, you know, at this stage where I can't do everything, I knew I would reach this stage at some time, and thank you for being there to help. No trouble at all. And it's all about gratitude because she understands, listen, this is the stage she's at. She can't help herself in certain ways. She has to be dependent. And the best way is to show gratitude. Why grumble? Why complain? Unless someone is not treating you in any way they should. But that's what you just spoke about is important.
And for those who who may not have relatives, because in our days, in our present days, so many of our siblings are abroad, or we come from small families. So you just don't have the daughter or the son or that close person. And you will be in the hands of a caregiver, a hired person. And you know, you will still have to be grateful that someone is there to help, that there is space for you. And this is one of the things we are going to be exploring. We are reluctant to do it, but we have to, and we will.
Yes, let me put this. I really want to be seen as a pleasant old lady. I remember in my time as a younger person, and caregivers is not as sophisticated, I will say, as now. But in those days, you know, whoever taking care of the elderly, you might hear them say, that person, they're miserable, they're not pleasant at all, they don't want to deal with them. And I know, I say, I don't want to be known. So if I have to have a caregiver, let me be seen as a pleasant old lady that they're happy to take care of.
But Jennifer, you know, they say sometimes the true things you suppress when you were young is come out in old age.
Yeah, so I am ensuring that doesn't happen. I have time. You see why it is important?
You have to fix your mind.
Fix your mind. I have fixed my mind, Terri-Ann. I'm not waiting to be pleasant then. I have released all my baggage. Yes. I'm not going into 70 with baggage. I'm telling you.
And you're grinding on somebody.
I have released all my baggage, and as it come on, I start to release. I would meditate on it. I am not going into 70 with any baggage. I'm going to be seen as a nice, pleasant old lady to take care of. Right. So,
oh my gosh.
All right. So 5, there will be many swindlers and scammers along the way. Many of them know that the elderly have lots of savings and will endlessly be thinking of ways to cheat them of their money through scam, phone calls, text messages, mail, food and product samples, get rich quick schemes, products for longevity or enlightenment. Basically, all they want is to get all the money. Beware and be careful. Hold your money close to you. A fool and his money are soon parted, so spend your pennies wisely. Before the sky gets dark, the last stretches of life's journey will gradually get dimmer and dimmer. Naturally, it will be harder to see the path ahead that you are treading towards, and it will be harder to keep going forward. As such, upon turning 60, it will do us all well to see life for what it is, to cherish what we have, to enjoy life while we can, and to not take on society's troubles or your children's or grandchildren's affairs for yourself. Stay humble. Don't act superior on account of your own age and talk down to others. So you have to be nice. This will hurt yourself as much as it will hurt others. As we get older, all the better should we be able to understand what respect is and what it counts for. In these later days of your lives, you have to understand what it means to let go of your attachments, to mentally prepare yourself. The way of the nature is the way of life. Go with the flow and with equanimity. Go with the flow and with equanimity. Sorry. For all of us, a nice read. Very beautiful, very true. So let's go back to that money issue, Terri-Ann. That last, let me say that you see that legacy creation program we just did, that forum. Huh. If you had attended, oh wow, you would understand the schemas, all the different type of ways that people will want to scheme you. Sometimes your own relatives, family members want to scheme you out of that little money that you see.
And I think it is perspective, huh? You know, and even for myself, as I say, and we've talked about this, that, you know, if you say life is a bell curve and you spent your career accumulating, building the savings to make sure that in your retirement years you could, and you need a very different strategy, because my strategy now is to spend in a way that the funds are accumulated I plan to be around till 1995 and independent. I saw boldface, all right? After 95, then somebody had to take care of me. But I think this is where people fall into the trap, because your mentality when you are building is to do a scheme to get more, get by. And that is how I think people fall prey to the schemas, because you're older and you're looking to say, I can make this, I could get more, I can do more with this, I can make it go further. If you really understand that at the latter stage, you have to have a strategy for depleting and not wasting your savings. And if you have proper advice as to how you go about depleting while trying to preserve your savings, you're less likely to end up with a schema. Because if your mind, let's see how I could get 10% more on this, or let's see how I could get, or the returns are better than the market. That's when you're 30 and you have time to lose the money and make it back. You could do those kinds of things. And I think that the difference between an accumulation mindset and I don't want to say depletion, but using up the resources to extend your life mindset is where people remain open to being schemed. You know?
Terri-Ann, it happens a lot, as we say we do in these stages. It happens a lot between the 70 to the 80 and 80 beyond, because in many situations, and as a financial coach, you know, with my experience there, you may think you have a lot of savings and a lot of things put aside, but when you reach, let's say, about 75, so you realize, hey, I have nothing, you could panic. And in panicking now, you tend to trust somebody who come and say, look, I could help you, I could do this for you. And you feel that, okay, whatever you have left, if you give them, they could multiply for you. I mean, you mentioned that. We have to be very careful. We have to trust the system that, hey, this is what we have. And with advice, and if you would have gotten advice, don't wait then. This is the time for us to have all the information to make the decisions now. This is the time when you go in, you know, you're having a discussion with your attorney or with your financial advisor to know you're preparing. It is very, very critical for that beyond 70, beyond 70, beyond 75. Yeah.
I think if people would, you know, when you, whether you retire or you're cashing on annuity or whatever it is, whether it's at 60, 65, and you get that lump sum, and you know the dream, I'm going on a trip, I'm going on a cruise, I'm going to travel, I'm buying a car for the grandchild, I'm helping this one to do a down payment on the house. And if you don't look at that money and you give yourself, I am going to be living for 30 years, this money has to mind me for 30 years. Divide it into 30, you get a sense of how much you could spend in a year. And all of a sudden, those grandiose plans will disappear, because that's the other thing. The schemas might start in your home, in your circle, with everybody thinking, you can fix this and you can fix that. And you don't, just as in, I think, 2 or 3, when they said, you're responsible for taking care of yourself. And what do we need to take care of ourselves? Our money, whatever you get, whether you have a pension, whether you have a lump sum, whether it's just NIS or old age pension, it has to carry you. So make sure you take care of your affairs first.
The other thing to Terri-Ann, in some situations, and we're not doing a blame game here too, in some situations, your dependent really don't have the knowledge. They don't know. And they could assume, and they really do, that you have money somewhere along the line. And the reading here, old age, somewhere in their mind, the younger people might think, the younger generation, you accumulated a lot of money and you have money put aside.
Or they saw the letter from the where they get the lump sum. They saw the number.
And even your pension, whatever you get in, to them it may seem plenty because you don't have the expenses. But the reason for that too is because we don't tell them the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Many times we allow our grands, our children to believe that we really have a lot of money saved up when we don't. But we don't want it to look bad, like all these years we didn't save enough. You know, so it may be a good idea to have a discussion. I always recommend it actually, to have a discussion with your family members when you retire, when you reach 60. Don't wait until you reach 80 to tell them you don't have, or 70 to say you don't have. You know, so it is really important to have that discussion from before and sharing the ideas and what you would like to do, etc. at that stage. And we will of course have, when we reach that segment, which will be about your financial situation, we would have the experts coming in to help you and guide you how best you can handle the situation.
Develop a strategy, you know. And Jennifer, you talked about not the need to share. And unfortunately, I understand that there are many families where you can't share. You can't.
May not be with everyone. I agree. Yeah. Not with everyone. You can't. But you need a trusted. Yeah, you need a trusted person to share.
That is where you have to. And a lot of people, they would hold. They know they have to hold something back for themselves. And because if they don't, the kind of pressure that may be put on them, you know, it's difficult. So, but at the end of the day, I think whether you're just holding yourself back from sharing with your family, your situation, and most important, credibly, you live into 90. The money is not a lot when if you look at it, it can be spent in 5 years, then oh God, you're rich. But if you think it has to be in 1 year, it's stretched. I give it 5 years as a if it has to be stretched over 30, 40 years, then you're not rich. And this brings back to the point, Jennifer, that we said, depending on the stage you are in the stage, you have to develop some other means of generating income to supplement, to make sure that it lasts. We're going into an inflationary spiral. You know, we can't put our heads under a bucket and pretend. If we do that, then the sky will get dark, not slowly, quickly.
And you know, and they talk about money is one of the greatest fears, and that is where the trust issue comes in, and that's where many people don't make a decision. So you have to, we keep saying, you have to be very wise, you know, be aware of what is happening, and as you need to trust somebody. You need to trust somebody. You know, let somebody know what it's all about.
And you know, I want to say a word too. The cohort I'm about to leave, you 50 to 60 years. I'm close enough to my 60th birthday to call myself 60. You know, you tend to refer to this money thing as a sort of academic or financial, as a quantitative thing. It's how much money, accumulation, and where to get the best returns. And there's a slick kind of a smart thing. I could go into this sophistication and stuff like that. But when we really think about it, you know, project yourself, it's hard, project yourself 15 years.
Yeah.
Project yourself 15 years, and you'd realize that money really has to facilitate your quality of life. And that's not a slick hustler thing. So the person who is talking fast and telling you to go into this scheme and that scheme, and it's not registered, but you want to seem current. You're riding the stock market. You're going into the new areas, the cutting edge areas that are rising fast. When you are talking about organizing your money to be able to be still taking care of you in 20 years or in 30 years, it will give you a little pause and tell you to, you know, that's using a 20 or 30-year-old financial planning strategy when you are building this at that stage. And I think that is a very, very dangerous thing to do.
Because at 50, Terri-Ann, I remember when I celebrated, I love to celebrate birthdays, right? It is a big thing for me. And I celebrated my 50. I felt I was so young and active and energetic and so many years ahead of me. Anybody, I don't think I invited, as to say, any old person, you know, because anybody is that the 80? No. Well, now, you know, they say a circle.
No wisdom.
The circle is 10 years within your age group. So, you know, I ain't looking at the 50s at all. But you could really get that false sense of worth when you're in the early 50s. Huh?
I remember Gregory Maguire talking about his mentor, Trevor Farrell, giving him advice on, you know, the health, the children.
You could really get that.
The
Because at that time, you want your peak of accumulation. Yeah, the peak. So you just maybe renovated your house, nice, the car, everything good, the children good, and you say, yes, this is life. And you could really feel this is where you're going to take you through each of the other stages, the 60 plus and the 70 plus, you know. So I just want those in the 50s, very early 50s, who don't see themselves as old, which is quite all right. But in terms of your thinking and your planning, no, it may not. A lot of things can happen, and we've seen it. We have the reality of it. Persons who never expected to lose their jobs, etc., at very, very high levels, you know, no longer in the position. So you have to really think ahead. And we are here as experienced 60s and 70s early, stepping into these different
stages. I now getting my experience at 60s. You know? I'm watching my mentors.
As she entered, they are mentoring the next phase.
I try to be a mentor to the 50s now.
So I think I can speak with more authority.
No, but it is so very important for us to, you know, it's great that the UN declared it was just the 1st of October, but I think it is very, very worthwhile for us to focus on this for the entire month. I think it is. And I think that when you stay tuned and stay onto Facebook, you see how we have the kinds of guests that we'll be bringing on to really drive this discussion, you know. And Jen, we know there is so much fear of dealing with the reality of this. So we really want to encourage you, set the fear aside. In this forum, it's just you and us and the guests. So no one needs to put on headsets so nobody can hear what you're talking about, what we're talking about. It is so important to prepare because we are going into a period, the future period, that has, I think, more unknowns.
Oh, yes.
But just what technology is going to displace and replace. Many of us are not yet comfortable in Zoom. We've not accepted the digital space. Some of us are not comfortable with smartphones. some of us have not gotten into ordering groceries and stuff like that online. Businesses today, out of the pandemic, have seen huge opportunities for savings with using technology. And they not look at the fiasco with the Republic Bank conversion to their new platform. Now that's a platform for the future. And the bulk of the people who were cut out, you know which cohort they belong to. And what did they do? They send you to a robot to answer your questions, or they give you more digital solutions. You know, the other day I got locked out of my account. I put in my password wrong 3 times. Yes, I did. I do it too. And let me tell you something. I had to take 3 deep breaths to go through the locked out user process, you know. And Republic Bank, I received the reprimand. I received it. Thank you. I got it. I figured it out. But we have to realize that the world of the future, it's digital. And that's one of the first things we've got to overcome, you know.
Actually, Terri-Ann, the United Nations for this year, 2021, the theme really is digital equity for all ages. So you know who the focus is. You just said it.
Yeah.
The focus is on us, because I mean, things are very simple. And I remember up to just before it was last year, because it was the last function I went to prior to the COVID, prior to the lockdown in Trinidad and Tobago. And I met a friend and we were chatting, and she wanted me, because of her field, for me to give her a call or, you know, thing. And I said, well, okay, not a problem. I will WhatsApp you the information. And she's telling me, but I don't use WhatsApp. And I'm saying, but you have the phone in your hand. How do you mean you don't use WhatsApp? She said, I'm not able to that sort of thing. And I say, okay, of course, I'm not selling anything. You know, she don't use WhatsApp, and she's no longer on the computer with emails and things, because she said she's not in the workplace. But this is this is a person as very skilled, and came out of a profession that she can continue offering her services. And she's telling me that she don't use WhatsApp. And I must mention, yesterday I was online with my granddaughter, and the teacher said, oh, I will WhatsApp the information. And I'm saying, well, parents, or, well, I have to say grandparents, because I know all the parents would be okay on board. The grandparents who were supervising, and we went through that, who don't use WhatsApp, you know, they need to get with it. And WhatsApp is one of the simplest technology.
And the thing about it with WhatsApp, you see that last line of his first point, you will have to learn how to live alone and to enjoy and embrace solitude. You may be alone in that others may not be around you, but with technology, whether it's Zoom, whether it's Teams, whether it's WhatsApp, whether it's Skype, whether it's all the different, you find one and learn it, because that is how you're going to be able to connect with others, with other like-minded people, people who have hobbies and skills similar to yours, your relatives, your grandchildren. That's how. So if we decide that this digital thing too hard, that sky is going to just get dark. Whoosh.
I'm telling you, you're quite correct.
And you will not find your way. That is sad. So, Jennifer,
before we close, I must mention also, we did promise, and that every month when we started, we just had our second forum for September. For October, again, the theme that we are using, we are talking about the elderly and the
aging.
So we're going to have a forum again, a small group forum on the 29th. I think we have it scheduled for Friday the 29th. And we will give you more details, but we're just letting you know it would be, as we speak, every week we're covering an area. So the forum will just take into account all that we would have discussed for the month. So you can come on board and start getting your mind ready to, join us on the 29th.
Great. So, Jennifer, we have used up our time. But we really, really want to encourage you. Stay tuned. We're going to be going through those 4 areas, and we're going to have people on board to help us navigate and guide us through so that we really build our own very sturdy third act stage. We're not going to be on any rickety stage with the sky getting dark and we being lost and alone in the darkness.
No.
We'll keep a light on.
We'll have sunlight.
Yes. I think sunlight bright, but
we're in the tropics, we're in the tropics.
So a nice cool 4 o'clock sun.
We're in the tropics, so we're gonna be sunny.
Yes.
I want to wish Terry and everybody, all those in our cohort, happy International Day. That is Friday, International Day of Older Persons. That take that day to really celebrate, to show gratitude, celebrate you, celebrate your life at this stage, your health, your
how many people have not made it? So many have not made it. Yeah.
So don't forget, take that day to celebrate you.
Great. So as we're leaving, just remember, in the time between a person turning 60 years old, as they begin to age, right until all the lights go out and the sky gets dark, there are some situations to keep in mind so that you will be prepared for what is to come and you will not panic. Great. Have a wonderful week.
Bye.
So, see you next week.
Okay, bye for now.
So, you are over 50. You know what you're about, but you want to have that added edge to streamline your vision. CONEC-TIONS 50 Plus has the product for you. It's the Primetime 5.8G Reset Coaching Package. We can help you to retool and chart your course for a successful third act journey. It's revolutionary. It's a 3-in-1 composite, smoothing life transition, assuring your financial well-being, and empowering your entrepreneurial footprint. This is your time to seize the moment. Take full advantage of this opportunity to become your best self, claim financial confidence, and explore new possibilities. The CONEC-TIONS 50 Plus 5.8G Primetime Reset Coaching Package is a must for you as you follow your passion, love what you do, and do what you love, all while claiming your worth. With this package, you can be well on your way to the best years of your life. Connect with us by going to the Programs tab on your webpage or calling the numbers on the screen. We look forward to seeing you very soon. 50 Plus Tribe and followers from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this CONEC-TIONS 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.